Coming up, it's past mid-January, but I'm still doing a 2025's good news review because I forgot to do it last episode. So, yay! Welcome to Total Nileation. Super belated Happy New Year. I think by the time you're going to be listening to this, is going to be like, I don't know, January 20 something, which is crazy. I think my New Year review is going to leak into February. I just realized, guys, I'm still working out the timing. I'm still working out the rollouts. But yes, thank you so much for listening. Welcome once again to Total Annihilation. Belated Happy New Year. Your existential halftime, the podcast that brings you all of the better news stories you should be getting, but for some reason are not. I am Niall Seguin, in case you don't already know, aka Optimist Prime. Welcome to the treehouse. Please pull up a cushion, have a seat. Maybe give yourself a petty there. We got some stuff for you to do that, right? That's how tree houses work. Guys, how are you? I hope you're well. I hope your 2026 is off to a good, if not great, if not amazing start. I'm doing all right. If you are watching this on YouTube, firstly, thank you for watching. And secondly, you may have noticed we've mixed it up. I've mixed it up. There's no we, it's just me. It's a one-person operation so far, guys, and I'm doing my best. That might explain a lot about how sometimes maybe you're listening to the episode and you're like, oh, that was a bit wonky. It's one person with ADHD. But yes, I'm changing the format. I'm just doing natural. It's just me in my kitchen, just talking. It felt weird. It got to feel weird with the background. I had like an animation, a fun little animation background for previous episodes. It started feeling weird. And also, if I'm being honest, the software I was using, Descript, started out very well, and then the honeymoon fell off, and when it fell off pretty hard. So I'm no longer using Descript. If you have any recommendations for good editing software, totalannihilation@gmail.com. But listen, you don't need to hear about all that. That's not why we're here. This is the good news review. Let me tell you how good 2025 was, all right? Okay? I don't know why I'm aggressive. Stop asking questions. Just listen, okay? It was so good that there's 2 episodes. I was like, it's just a highlight reel of great stories. It's going to have to be 2 episodes. If I'm being honest, you could do a highlight reel of good news stories that could take you through to June of 2026. That's how good 2025 was. Although you probably wouldn't be able to tell by the news you've been, I don't know, forced to consume is the right term. I guess limited news items, selections you've been given. And I'm here to mix up that selection. So enough of the fucking ADHD rambly talk. Let's get to it. Right, guys? Here for you now is the top good news items of 2025 from our home office in Finger, Manitoba. Number 8, big year for disease eradication and vaccination. A record 17 countries eradicated major diseases in 2025. Niger became the first African nation to eliminate river blindness. The Maldives achieved a world's first triple elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis, which I feel like that's a big deal. If you're a doctor and you understood that, feel free to email me and let me know how much of a big deal that was. Over 10 million children were vaccinated against malaria as global vaccination levels reached record highs. So take that, conspiracy theorists. By the way, who names these diseases? It's weird, right? Like, is it weird? River blindness? If you read, I Googled this so that you don't have to. Don't Google this. But if you read the symptoms of river blindness, you would know that it probably should have been called like, yikes, stay away from rivers, for the love of God. It's pretty long though. It's hard to put that on a prescription bottle, I guess. But I know you're thinking, this is the thing. I was talking to my primary partner, and I was just doing a little thing. I'm going to be doing this experiment, I think, throughout this podcast. Also, I'm starting a Substack. I'll be riffing there as well. If I started it by the time I posted this, it will be in the show notes. But it's the weird thing of like, even though you are listening to this podcast, because so clearly we are somewhat like-minded, I think you'll agree with me that for whatever reason, the bad news or the good news stories don't have the same weight emotionally as a bad news stories. Because I was talking to her and I was like, okay, there was the U.S. attack on Venezuela, and an 80-something-year-old woman died in her apartment. She was like, oh, that's terrible. And then I said, also, oh no, there's a spoiler alert. There's a spoiler alert for the good news coming up. Let me see if I can find one that isn't. Oh yeah. Also, in the past 20 years, child under 5 mortality rates have dropped by 50% globally. And she was like, wow, but do you know what I'm saying? Like the bad news feels like you're drinking a quart of motor oil, and the good news feels like oh, there's a scent of rose on the breeze there for just a second. I don't know what that is. I will look into it. But my point, my rambly point was, if this story, instead of being about 17 countries eradicating diseases, if this had been a story about 17 countries discovering that it is impossible to eradicate 17 diseases, or discovering 17 new diseases, this would be all over the news cycle. Or at the very least, like on social media, people would be freaking out. It would be trending, sadly, for like 24 hours, before Trump decided to reinvade Venezuela just to play the hits, his greatest hits. I don't know, something to think about. If you know the why the good news doesn't hit as hard for some, feel free to let me know. Number 7, global well-being and freedom. Gallup reports a 33%, record 33% of people worldwide saying they are thriving, which I know you're thinking 33% is low, but thriving? Come on. How many people, if I told you, how many people you think percentage-wise would describe themselves as thriving? You're not going 33%. Not in 2026, you're not, but there we are. The proportion of people who would describe themselves as suffering dropped to 7%, the lowest level since 2007. 80% of people globally are satisfied with their personal freedoms. 75% of respondents believe their country is a good place for children to grow and learn. We might need a new metric to adjust for cultural differences, just to see. I'm sure they adjusted for that. This is Gallup. They've been doing these for a long time. I'm sure they've managed to control for some stuff. But the question, are you satisfied with your personal freedoms? In one country, it's like, oh yeah, I love it. I can vote, and I can finally express myself without fear of retribution. And in another country that shall remain unnamed, the answer would be like, no, I can't take selfies in the cockpit because the pilot's all like, oh, government regulations. Like, I'm sorry, what is first class even for? Also, quick aside, some of you didn't believe me on this one, right? Be honest. Like you heard like the results from this poll, and you're like, yeah, okay. Where was this done? Sweden? Because we've been conditioned to believe that people are suffering. And some people are suffering, but it's a much smaller percentage than we think. And I think because we've been working on people suffering for quite some time, I think a few hundred years, some would argue a few thousand years. Yeah, I think it's good to think that, yeah, we still got some work to do, but it's also good to, maybe take a little existential load off of yourself and be like, it's not a 5-alarm fire. It might be a 2, 3, maybe even a 2-alarm fire. Number 6, global safety and crime reduction. The global murder rate has declined on every continent during the 21st century. Yes, that includes the US. In case you were thinking, in case you're being a sassy pants, although you wouldn't know it to watch the news. But yes, the US recorded its lowest murder rate in history in 2025. Think about that. Lowest murder rate in history in the United States of America. And let's be real, people, and I would say this in general, not just the US, but especially in the US, people haven't gotten less annoying in the past, in recent years, but still lowest murder rate. I like that. Violent crime in the US is at its lowest since 1968. Central America saw a 58% decline in homicides over the last decade, over the last 10 years, 58%. 73% of people globally report feeling safe walking alone at night. It's a record high. And I know. Again, this is back to back. These are two where you're like, where is he getting these? You can Google it. And I know you might be thinking, that seems unlikely, but let's look at it this way. Wherever you are, let's say you decided you wanted to murder someone. What are your odds of getting away with the crime? What do you think? You're getting caught, right? You know you're getting caught. You're not getting away with it. Let's say you decided to rob a bank or beat the hell out of someone. You know you're getting caught. So right now, I think it's a good indication that now the only people we have to worry about, because it's always the same people we have to worry about, are people with a poor sense of planning, right? The people who can't see into the future or can't even conceive of things going south. Once we nerf stupid, guys, we will get the utopia we deserve. Number 5, food security and nutrition. Global hunger is falling for the first time since the pandemic. 2025 marked the 3rd consecutive year of record harvests of wheat, rice, and soybeans. Global farmland usage has peaked and is now declining because we produce more food on less land. So let that sink in for those of you who are freaking out about that. Props to Indonesia, who they reduce childhood stunting by over 10% in just 6 years. I don't know what childhood stunting is, but the fact that they mention it, I'm just not going to Google it. Guys, I've Googled a lot of rough illnesses, and I'm just like, I can't take another river disease, what was it called? There's this one worm disease that I looked up. My God. Anyways, over 500 million children received school meals this year, an increase of 100 million since 2020. And the bonus factoid that I like to repeat, often courtesy of my favorite super nerd, Oxford super nerd Hannah Ritchie, if you were to divide the calories that we produce every day as a planet equally across the planet, you would get 5,000 calories per person. So guys, we got it. We're right there. It's just logistics now. And don't kid yourself. We're going to figure that out. It's funny because this is the kind of progress that is going to continue. But most people hear that and they think I'm just delusional, right? But I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like at some point, at least for me, because I'm older, so the change that I'm seeing is more drastic, but I think at some point the progress we are going to be making is gonna start to feel like magic. Because look at it this way, if you were to tell someone in 2015 about large language models, they would have lost their minds. They would have been like, what? That's it, what? Or if you told someone in 1995 about smartphones, just like 10, 11 years before smartphones, also would have lost their minds. They would have been like, that's next generation, Star Trek Next Generation stuff. So I'm thinking, if you want to get an idea of what's coming down the pipeline, just think of something that's like moderately crazy good. Think of something like crazy, insane good, and then maybe cut it in half. And that's probably what's going to be coming down in 2030. Also, just so you know, I got some conditioning. I got some pessimism and some negativity in my conditioning. So I also actually caught myself, the kids meal story. I caught myself thinking, oh, only 100 million kids since 2020? That's like 5 years. But when you think about it, 100 million people is a lot of people. I think my brain is doing that human thing where you get a big number and you can't understand it unless you sit down and remember, wait, 100 million. I'm not going to meet 100 million people in my lifetime. I'm not going to meet like a tenth of that in my lifetime. So that is amazing news. Number 4, the energy transition. Ooh, wonder if China's going to be in this one. It will. It obviously will. Renewables have overtaken coal as the largest source of global electricity. That is in 2025. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I feel like that is the closest good news that is becoming, it's the good news that is closest to becoming mainstream, because it's just getting so loud, the renewable progress. China's carbon emissions fell in 2025 as clean energy now meets all its new demand. Think about that. China went all in on the renewable thing in around 2015. This is 2025, again, news review. And China, a country that has a billion people, it has its emissions, they started to fall, it's not nothing, everybody. In the US, 92% of new electricity capacity in 2025 came from solar, wind, and batteries. Solar power became the largest source of electricity in California. So congrats to them. Global warming projections have dropped from 4 degrees Celsius a decade ago to approximately 2.7 degrees Celsius today, which I read is shitty still, but survivable. 4 degrees was not, 2.7 is survivable. And let's not kid ourselves. Is there any reason to believe that over the next 10 years we can't shave more degrees off of that? I don't think so. So I just want you bear that in mind, but I also want you to remember this when you are freaking out about Trump and how much he loves oil and how much he hates renewables. All right, dude with the entire US government behind him, couldn't stop it. All right, so it's a new thing. It's the next phase. It's the next whatever. I wish to God Canada would get in on it. This is embarrassing and a little scary, to be honest, because I don't understand how you don't see this. I said it before, I will say it again. This feels like Canada's fixation on oil, the US fixation on oil, that feels like you are cornering the horse and buggy market in 1945. Congratulations, you dumb furniture. Now, some people might say, Nile, you're still going to need oil for long haul shipping, which is the largest source of climate change, of global warming. And I don't even know what to do with that, because you're like, okay, so you're looking at all the progress that we've made in terms of renewables and in terms of like just renewable like EVs. And you just think none of that is going to translate. None of it. It's just going to be a donut in terms of translation. No one's going to be able to look at all the progress we've made in terms of renewable, in terms of nuclear fusion. They got a new record this year. I forgot. I literally just remembered that. There's 2 nuclear fusion big stories that didn't make this story because I forgot about it. So just not even adding nuclear fusion. None of that is going to translate to long haul shipping or aviation. By the way, they did have a plane that ran on solar power for, I think it was 3 or 5 hours. But no, oil. All the way. You dizzy Muppets. Number 3, economic resilience and poverty reduction. Global growth reached 2.7 in 2025, exceeding initial pessimistic projections. I don't know what that means, but it sounded cool. Global unemployment hit its lowest since 1991. Over 80% of the world's adults now have access to bank accounts, which doubles the rate from 2011. Extreme poverty is falling in major nations like India, China, Mexico, Uzbekistan, and Vietnam. I feel like the 20%, like the remaining 20% who don't have bank accounts, at least, no, not 20%, like 5% of the people who don't have bank accounts are just like stubborn, paranoid, old country people who are like conspiracy theorists. Savings account, nice try. You go there, they won't give you your money back. Yeah. So I mean, this is the thing. I'm reading this other book and I can't remember it. I can't remember the title, but I'll hopefully drop it to you at some point. But this guy was talking about like there's a dark side of capitalism, but there's also a bright side of capitalism, which is a lot of stuff is way more affordable, right? And so we still have, yes, we have extreme poverty. We have people who are in dire need. We have a lot of stuff that we need to fix. Yes. But look at it this way. No matter how poor you are right now, would you trade spots with John D. Rockefeller, who was the Elon Musk of 1925? Would you do that? You got a big 40-room mansion that is drafty as fuck and freezing in the wintertime. Speaking of wintertime, no fresh strawberries in December. You got a car, but it's got no airbags. The seat's got no padding. There's no shocks, so you're just getting brutalized wherever you go. You can pay for first class, but it's on a luxury liner. You're not doing an overnight jaunt to Ibiza. You're not doing an overnight jaunt anywhere. So bring all of the exciting novels, which, spoiler alert, there weren't any. And then you miss a call from your doctor because there's no such thing as voicemail. And then you die of strep throat at like 50. Congratulations on all your money. It's just an interesting, it's a nice little downward comparison. Look at it like if you're having a little chop, having a rough time, you have a lot more perks than a rich person 100 years ago, maybe even 50 years ago. Number 2, this one was my favorite one, which I think says a lot about my existential angst, I think. Scientists successfully engineered senescence-resistant human mesenchymal progenitor cells, SRCs. By the way, I'm pretty sure I may have mispronounced mesenchymal, and it annoys me so much because earlier I looked up the pronunciation and then I forgot it. And what this does, this makes them immune to typical stresses that cause cells to age and fail. In a comprehensive 44-week trial of elderly macaque monkeys, therapy showed zero adverse effects, no immune overreactions, no tumors, and it overcame the biggest historical hurdle for stem cell treatments, which is tumors, by the way. That's a little dark. The treatment reversed aging markers across 10 major physiological systems and 61 different tissue types simultaneously. Please get this to me soon. Please. Please. Treated subjects exhibited improved memory performance, thicker brain cortices, ladies, and a significant reduction in age-related conditions like osteoporosis and brain atrophy. The therapy successfully boosted both sperm and oocyte vitality, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, suggesting a future path for treating age-related fertility decline in humans. Why is it the idea of elderly monkeys makes me sadder than elderly humans? Probably because, like, the monkey doesn't know what's happening. It's just like, I don't feel well. By the way, before you start talking about how this is bad news because of overpopulation, stop. My God, I hate Avengers Infinity War so much. It's the opposite. It's going to be the opposite. The more time you have now, the better you will be able to make. You'll be able to make better decisions because you're not desperate to like, oh my God, I have to have this nest egg ready. You're like, okay, I can keep working. I can figure stuff out. You can make better long-term plans, in my opinion. I'm sure there are some people who are going to look at it and find a negative, find a cloud in that silver lining, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be a positive feedback loop for the best. And the number 1 story for part 1 anyways, is the Gaza ceasefire. Guys, fragile ceasefire, yes, signed in October, still holding more or less. This is immense hopes to millions, because it offers a potentially a way to end the suffering. The peace process is moving to the next phase. From what I understand, there's grassroots movements like the Parents Circle, Families Forums. Hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if it's all one word or all one name. Anyways, they're fostering reconciliation by helping people recognize their shared humanity and joint pain. Shared commitment from families on both sides is creating a narrative of peace based on empathy and the recognition that they both share the same color of tears. I love that so much. I hope it continues so well that maybe someday we don't think of both sides. We just think of one side. I know that's fucking cheesy, but you know what? I stand by it. It's true. Now, I picked this not just because it's an amazing story, but also, like, I'm pretty sure that a few of you, when I brought this up, were like, oh yeah, Gaza. Right, right. Which is an insane response. That is a crazy response because it was everything for a while. It was relentless on social media. Everyone I was talking to would bring it up, well, as they should, right? Obviously, it's something that's worth talking about. It was very, you know, I don't even know what the word is, but Jesus, yes. But the reason I brought it up is because it's an amazing thing, and we don't see the addition by subtraction. That never lands. It's another way that good news doesn't land. If millions of people weren't killed, weren't murdered, then that doesn't feel the same as though, oh, so people were murdered. But so this is I feel like for good news to hit, you actually have to take the time to sit down and just lean into it and be like, yep, that is amazing. That is, right now there's like somewhere in Gaza, there's like, I don't know, a few 100,000 people who are walking around who would not have been walking around by now if that ceasefire had not happened. Yeah, I will give a shiny toonie to whoever finds a way to get the good news dated as hard as the bad news. But we'll get there. We'll get there. And here's a little something to start your New Year's off right. This is, I heard from the Useless Information podcast. Shout out to them. I love the story so much. And I thought, this will work. This will work for this, to start off 2026. So this is a story about George Barr. George Barr owned George Barr Chemical Company in 1946. 90% of his employees were disabled because he himself was also disabled. I can't remember. I think he'd lost a leg, something. So George Barr, at one day, decides to do this. He picks 500 names at random out of the phone book, because you could do that in those days. And also there's a phone book. If you don't get either of those references, maybe just skip to the end or just skip to the next podcast. There's a lot of content for you to get through. And what he did is he mailed them each $1, which is the equivalent of $17 today, $20 Canadian, I think. And he said this, if you mail this dollar back to me, I will donate it to an organization that helps disabled people. I can't remember the name of the organization. And if they wanted to, they could add money to it and send that to him. So of the 500, how many people, what percentage do you think sent back the money? If I were to ask you, be honest, here we go. Of the 500, 411, 82% replied. Of that 411, 339, 67% sent additional money. So while you are scrolling, you are doom scrolling about this person being a dick and that person being terrible, I want you to remember George Barr. Because these are numbers. These are numbers. These are undeniable stats. People are mostly good, or at the very least, not bad. That's 18% of people. By the way, I have this weird theory. It's the 80-20 rule. I always do 80-20. It disturbs me how close this number is. 82%. So I guess 82-18 is the actual number. But like 18%, they're the dips. And then 82% of people are cool. 82% of people are just like you. We just want to get through life, have a nice time, hang out with our friends. And that's it. We don't want to be dicks. Don't forget that. Don't forget that you are the majority. You are the silent majority. It might sound like evil is everywhere, but it isn't. It's just really loud and obnoxious. And it has to be. Because people like that depend on us not knowing that we are the majority, not believing that we in fact have the power. I feel like there should be some sort of follow-up to that, a call to action, like I'm going to be starting a revolution. I don't know. But there's that. Just remember that. Hope it warms your cockles. I just wanted to say warm cockles. All right, guys, we're about to wrap it up. So you know what that means. here for you now. 25 seconds of good news. I hope I'm doing this editing thing, guys. I'm still working it out. I feel like I'm going to be saying that for the rest of this podcast. So I'm using this software that really helps with the audio editing because it's super echoey in my kitchen and it's my only option until I figure out something better. But it kind of mutes the audio. So I'm not sure if you're going to hear the bell of the timer, but hopefully you will because it adds effect to it. Here we go. I'm just going to go into it so I don't have time to overthink it. Here we go. The Welsh government has proposed a law making it illegal for politicians to deliberately mislead people. The global south is deploying renewable energy twice as fast as the global north. A study from Oxford University showed that we underestimate how kind the world really is. The Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, has prevented 19 million deaths since 2000. A trial involving the injection of neural stem cells allowed a paralyzed man to walk again, another man to regain motion in his arms and legs. Since 1995, the number of out-of-school girls has decreased by 39%. That wasn't bad. Still 6. My record is 6. But that is it. That's not bad, right? Strong start to 2026. Guys, that is it. That is a podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to rate and review if you are watching on YouTube. I know there's like at least 3 of you. Please like and subscribe. If you haven't already, sign up to my Substack. I'm going to be, that's going to be on my site and or in my bio. Hopefully by the time I post this episode, follow me, on socials at Niles Again on pretty much everything. I do the Beaverton podcast. And I also do a now award-winning Dungeons and Dragons podcast, Comedians in Dungeons Getting Dragons, which won the outstanding fiction series of at the Canadian Podcast Awards this year, or I guess last year. And this show exists because of people like you who support it. So if you've laughed, nodded, had anything, if this got you anything, please consider joining my Buy Me a Coffee. It's buymeacoffee.com/Total Nileation. Again, any emails, totalnihilation@gmail.com. Also, I'm going to be working, some of you send me good news stories and I'm like, what should I do with these? I feel like I should put them in an episode. So here's the pitch. I'm going to make an audience story episode. Eventually, I'm going to accumulate enough of these stories so there's just going to be audience submitted stories. So if you have not just a news story, if you have like a cool story about something nice that happened that gave you hope, please feel free, send it to me. Total Nileation, TOTALNILEATION @gmail.com. And guys, that it is. Sure, it's not always going to be perfect. Guys, that's it. If you cannot be a shining example, be a terrifying warning. Let's get it on 3. 1, 2, 3.